Your home didn't sell. The listing expired, the sign came down, and now you're left wondering, what happened? Or maybe your home is still on the market, but the phone isn't ringing, the showings just aren't coming, and there haven't been any offers. Either way, it's frustrating. You start questioning the price, the marketing, the timing, and maybe even whether there's something wrong with your home, or if your agent could have done something differently. If any of that sounds familiar, the first thing I want you to know is this. Just because your home didn't sell doesn't mean there's something wrong with your home. It doesn't even necessarily mean it was overpriced. Before you make any decisions about what to do next, you first need to understand why your home hasn't sold. The good news is that there are clues. Every showing, every piece of buyer feedback, every comparable sale, and even the absence of offers provides another piece of the puzzle. The key is knowing how to put those pieces together so you can understand why your home didn't sell. Hi, I'm Weise with eXp Realty, and I'm also a certified residential appraiser serving the greater Sacramento area. When I sit down with homeowners who are struggling to sell their home, the first thing we do is take an honest look at everything that happened while it was on the market. We review the pricing strategy, the showing activity, the buyer feedback, the marketing, and how the market changed during the listing. Only then do we decide on the best next step. In this video, we'll walk through the steps I recommend before you relist your home. We'll talk about how to determine why it didn't sell, what buyer feedback you should pay attention to, and whether it's time to adjust your pricing or marketing strategy. We'll also discuss whether relisting right away, waiting a little longer, or even changing agents makes the most sense for your situation. My goal isn't to point fingers or criticize anyone. Every home, every market, and every situation is different. Instead, I want to help you understand what the information is telling you so you can make informed decisions and give yourself the best chance for success the next time your home hits the market. So before we talk about pricing, marketing, or whether you should change agents, let's start by looking at what happened while your home was on the market. You should review your showing activity, buyer feedback, how the market changed during your listing, and the pricing and marketing strategy used throughout your listing. Much of this information should have been shared with you throughout the listing. If your agent was keeping you informed throughout the process, what we're about to discuss shouldn't come as a surprise. If not, don't worry. Your agent should still have that information available, and reviewing it now can help you determine the best next step. If you've already parted ways with your agent, don't worry. It's still possible to review your previous listing and gather some valuable information. It just may not be the complete picture. It's also worth looking at how long similar homes are taking to sell. How long your home has been on the market is another clue, but only when you compare it to similar homes. If comparable homes in your area are averaging 80 days on the market and yours has only been listed for 60, there may not actually be a problem yet. On the other hand, if similar homes are selling in 30 days and yours has been on the market for 50, that's another clue worth looking into. Every showing, every piece of buyer feedback, every day on the market, and even the absence of offers tells part of the story. When you put those clues together, they can help you determine the best next step. Now that we've talked about gathering the information, let's start with one of the biggest clues, your showing activity. Showing activity tells us whether your listing was generating enough buyer interest to get people through the front door. Were buyers interested enough to schedule a showing? And after seeing the home, what happened next? The answers to those questions can tell us a lot about where to focus next. Let's look at two common scenarios. The first is very few showings. If buyers aren't scheduling appointments, the first question isn't necessarily whether your home was overpriced. Price is certainly one possibility, but we'll talk about pricing in more detail shortly. For now, let's take a closer look at how your home was being presented and marketed. If your photos weren't grabbing buyers' attention, they may have scrolled right past your listing. Was there a video showcasing your home? If not, that's one less opportunity to capture a buyer's attention. If there was a video, how many people actually watched it? Low viewership may indicate buyers weren't engaging with your marketing efforts. If your property description didn't clearly communicate what made your home special, buyers may have moved on to the next listing. Think about all the ways your home was marketed, whether through social media, email announcements, online advertising, or other channels. Then ask a more important question. What results did those marketing efforts actually produce? How many people viewed the listing? How many clicked through to learn more? How many of those became showing requests? If lots of people saw your listing, but very few scheduled a showing, that's an important clue. Also consider how easy it was for buyers to see your home. Were showings easy to schedule? Were there restrictions on showing times? Were open houses held to give buyers another opportunity to see the home? The harder it is for buyers to see a home, the fewer opportunities you have to receive an offer. Now let's look at the opposite situation. You had plenty of showings, but no offers. That tells us something very different. Your marketing is probably doing its job because buyers were interested enough to schedule a showing. Now we need to understand what happened once they got there. Maybe the condition didn't match their expectations. Maybe they felt the home needed more work than they anticipated. Maybe another home offered better overall value. This is where buyer feedback becomes incredibly valuable because patterns often begin to emerge. If multiple buyers are saying the same thing, it's usually worth paying attention to. Showing activity won't tell you everything, but it often tells you where to start looking. And one of the first places people usually look is price. Was your home priced competitively for today's market? Buyers don't look at your home by itself. They're comparing it to other homes they can buy within the same price range. Every showing is really a comparison, and buyers are asking themselves, which home most closely matches what I'm looking for at the best value? So when reviewing your pricing strategy, ask yourself a few important questions. How did you determine your listing price? There are several ways a listing price can be determined. It may be based on recent comparable sales, similar homes currently on the market, your agent's recommendation, or another pricing strategy, such as pricing below market to encourage multiple offers, or pricing above market with the expectation of negotiating. There's no single right or wrong pricing strategy, but if your home isn't selling, and price may be part of the reason, it may be time to revisit the strategy you started with. How does your list price compare to similar homes that are currently on the market and to recent comparable sales? Has the market changed while your home has been listed? Have new homes come on the market, reduced their prices, gone under contract, or closed their sales? Or have interest rates, buyer demand, or the available inventory changed? A price that was competitive when your home first hit the market may no longer be as competitive a few weeks later. That's why it's important to review not only your original asking price, but also whether it should be, or should have been, adjusted as the market changed. Now let's look at another important clue: buyer feedback. Every buyer views a home a little differently. One buyer might not like the paint color, another might prefer a different neighborhood. That's normal. The important thing isn't what one buyer says, it's whether several buyers are saying the same thing. If multiple buyers mention the same concern, it's usually worth taking a closer look. Maybe they felt the home needed updating. Maybe the layout didn't work for them. Maybe they thought the home was priced a little high for its condition. Or maybe they simply felt another home offered better overall value. Keep in mind that not all feedback requires you to make a change. Some buyers simply aren't the right fit for your home. When you start hearing the same comments over and over, those comments can help you better understand why buyers decided not to make an offer. That doesn't necessarily mean your home won't sell. It simply gives you another opportunity to decide whether addressing that concern could improve your chances of receiving one. Sometimes buyers won't tell you exactly why they decided not to make an offer. They may simply say they're still thinking about it, or that they're going to keep looking, when they've already decided your home wasn't the right fit for them. That's why it's important to look at all of the buyer feedback instead of focusing on any one comment. Buyer feedback is one more clue. By itself, it doesn't tell the whole story. But when you combine it with your showing activity, pricing strategy, and everything else we've discussed, it can help you better understand why your home didn't sell. If your home wasn't getting the response you expected, especially if buyers weren't scheduling showings, then one of the things you should take a closer look at is how your home was marketed. Putting a home in the MLS is important because that's how your listing reaches real estate agents and the major real estate websites. But that's really the starting point. A good marketing strategy should present your home in its best light and create multiple opportunities for buyers to discover it. And just to be clear, most of the marketing we're about to discuss is generally the responsibility of your real estate agent. You can certainly help by talking about your home or sharing it on social media, but your agent should be handling the overall marketing strategy. If you're not sure what was being done to market your home, ask. Your agent should be able to explain the marketing they were doing and the results it produced. Let's start with one of the most important parts of marketing a home, the photography. Most buyers today get to know your home online before they ever see it in person. They're scrolling through listings and deciding which homes they want to learn more about and which ones they want to see. High-quality, professional photos can make the difference between someone stopping to look at your home or scrolling right past it. And while today's cell phones can take some pretty impressive pictures, there's still a difference between taking a good picture and professional real estate photography. A professional photographer understands lighting, composition, angles, and how to showcase a room so it looks its best online. The photos should be bright, inviting, and tell the story of the home. They should showcase the rooms, features, improvements, outdoor spaces, and anything else that helps your property stand out. Drone photography can provide another perspective that you simply can't get from the ground. Even with a typical suburban home, an aerial view can help buyers understand the property, the lot, and the surrounding neighborhood. And for larger properties, or homes near parks, lakes, ponds, trails, open space, or other desirable features, drone photography can be especially useful because it can show the relationship between the home and its surroundings. Photos are important, but video gives buyers another way to experience your home. A property tour can help buyers understand how the rooms connect, get a better feel for the layout, and see features that may be difficult to communicate through still photos alone. It can be especially valuable for buyers who aren't in the area. A good property tour gives them an opportunity to experience the home remotely and decide whether it's worth taking the next step, even when they can't easily visit in person. Shorter videos can also be used to highlight individual features of the home and give you additional content that can be shared throughout the marketing campaign. Again, buyers are often deciding whether they want to visit your home based on what they see online. The more effectively you can help them experience the property before they arrive, the better opportunity you have to turn that online interest into a showing. Another way to strengthen your home's online presence is with a dedicated property website or landing page. Instead of relying solely on the basic information available on a real estate website, buyers can have one place to see the photography, videos, property details, features, and other information about the home. It also gives you a destination you can use when promoting the property through email, social media, digital advertising, or other marketing. Of course, having great marketing materials only helps if you get them in front of people. Email provides another opportunity to put your home directly in front of potential buyers and the real estate agents working with them. Agents see new listings every day. Directly promoting a home to them gives your property another opportunity to get noticed, rather than simply waiting for someone to find it in a search. Social media gives you another way to repeatedly put the home in front of potential buyers. And I think the word repeatedly is important. Marketing a listing shouldn't necessarily mean making one post when the home first comes on the market and then never mentioning it again. Photos, videos, open houses, price changes, unique features, and other aspects of the property can all provide reasons to continue promoting the home while it's on the market. And while most agents have one or two social media platforms they prefer, the person who eventually buys your home may be spending their time somewhere else. When you're marketing a property, it makes sense to promote it across the major platforms, rather than assuming you know where the eventual buyer is going to find it. Open houses are another marketing tool, although maybe not for the reason people sometimes think. Relatively few homes sell because someone happens to walk into an open house and decides to buy it. But an open house creates another opportunity to advertise your property, put it on display, generate activity, and give buyers an easy opportunity to see it. It also gives neighbors a reason to stop by, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They may know someone who has been hoping to move into the neighborhood. And that leads into another potential source of exposure, the neighborhood itself. Flyers, postcards, neighborhood invitations, or even door knocking can let nearby homeowners know the property is available. Your neighbors probably aren't the buyers for your home, but they have friends, relatives, coworkers, and other people in their lives who might be. Sometimes the person most likely to tell a potential buyer about your home is someone who already loves living nearby. Depending on the property and the overall strategy, paid advertising can also be used to expand the home's exposure beyond the audience you're already reaching organically. That could mean promoting a listing, video, open house, or other content to a larger or more targeted audience. Paid advertising isn't necessarily something every listing needs, but it's another tool that can be considered when deciding how to get the property in front of more potential buyers. None of this means every home needs every possible form of marketing, but if your home didn't sell, especially if it wasn't generating the interest or showing activity you expected, take a close look at what was actually done to market it. Were buyers given a great first impression? Were they given different ways to experience the home online? And were there multiple ongoing efforts to get your property in front of potential buyers? The answers can help you determine whether marketing may have been one of the reasons your home didn't sell. So far, we've looked at showing activity, pricing, buyer feedback, and marketing. But sometimes you can review all of those clues and still not find an obvious reason why the home hasn't sold. That's when it's worth asking another question. Is there something about the property or the circumstances surrounding the sale that's limiting the number of buyers who can actually purchase it? I had this happen with a manufactured home I listed in a mobile home park. We had plenty of interest in the home. It was nicely updated, buyers liked it when they saw it, and the feedback about the home and the price was consistently positive. But we kept running into the same problem. Most of the interested buyers couldn't qualify for the park. When you purchase a manufactured home in a park, buying the home is only part of the process. The buyer also has to be approved by the park, and some parks have fairly strict income, credit, or other qualification requirements. So in this case, we had buyers who liked the home and were interested in purchasing it, but most of them simply couldn't get approved to live there. There wasn't necessarily something we needed to fix about the home. The park requirements were reducing the number of buyers who could actually purchase it. Manufactured homes are just one example. There are other circumstances that can reduce the number of buyers for a property. Financing and the condition of the home can sometimes go hand in hand. Certain loan programs have minimum property requirements. With an FHA loan, for example, health and safety issues or certain property conditions may need to be addressed before the home will qualify for the loan. If those issues aren't going to be corrected before closing, buyers using that type of financing may no longer be able to purchase the property. That doesn't necessarily mean the home can't be sold. It may simply mean you're working with a smaller group of buyers or need to consider how the property's condition affects the financing options available to them. HOA and community restrictions can affect the buyer pool too. A community may have restrictions or requirements that simply don't work for some buyers. Depending on the property, that could involve things like parking, pets, rental restrictions, age restrictions, or other community rules. A buyer might really like the home, but if one of those requirements doesn't fit their situation, they're probably going to keep looking. Tenant occupancy can create another set of challenges. If a home is occupied by tenants, showing access may be more limited, which can make it harder for buyers to see the property. And depending on the lease and the buyer's plans for the home, some buyers who want to move in themselves may decide the timing simply doesn't work for them. At the same time, an investor may look at that same tenant occupancy very differently. So again, the circumstances surrounding the property can affect which buyers are realistically going to consider it. Rural and unique properties can have a different challenge. A horse property, hobby farm, small vineyard, home on substantial acreage, or a property with an unusual layout or specialized improvements may have features that are very desirable to the right buyer. But not every buyer is looking for those features, so it may take longer to find someone who appreciates what makes the property unique. The same can be true when a home is an outlier for its neighborhood. Maybe it's substantially larger than most of the surrounding homes, has been extensively improved, or includes features that aren't typical for the area. Those improvements may add real appeal and value, but there's also a point where a buyer who can afford that home starts comparing it with properties in other neighborhoods or communities. That can create a smaller, more specialized buyer pool, even when there's nothing wrong with the home itself. And that brings us back to something we talked about earlier: how long similar homes are actually taking to sell. For properties like these, identifying what similar means becomes especially important. A horse property shouldn't necessarily be expected to sell in the same amount of time as a typical suburban home, and an extensively improved home may not behave like the other homes in its neighborhood. If the pricing looks competitive, the marketing is generating interest, buyers are coming through the door, and the feedback is generally positive, it may simply take more time to reach the buyer who both wants your home and is able to purchase it. That's why all of these clues need to be considered together. Once you understand what's actually been holding the sale back, you can make a much better decision about what, if anything, should change. Now that you've taken the time to understand what happened, you can finally answer the question we started with. What should you do next? And there isn't one answer that's going to be right for every home. What makes sense for you depends on what you've learned from your showing activity, buyer feedback, pricing, marketing, and everything else we've discussed. Sometimes the answer may simply be to relist the home without making any major changes. If the price still appears competitive, the marketing is working, buyers are showing interest, and similar homes are taking just as long or longer to sell, there may not be a major problem to fix. You may simply need more time to find the right buyer. On the other hand, if the information points toward price, it may be time to reconsider your pricing strategy. That doesn't automatically mean making a dramatic price reduction. Go back to the questions we discussed earlier. What similar homes are currently on the market, and how does your price compare with theirs? If a buyer can choose between your home and a very similar home that's priced $10,000 lower, that's something you need to consider. Recent sales are important too. What has sold since you originally listed? Has the market changed? Have competing homes reduced their prices? And what are buyers telling you through their actions? Then decide whether your price still makes sense for the current market. Buyer feedback may point toward changes in the home's presentation or condition. Maybe there's a condition issue that buyers repeatedly noticed, a repair that keeps coming up, or an improvement that could make the home more appealing. But before deciding to make those changes, consider whether the home's condition was already reflected in your asking price. A home that needs updating doesn't necessarily need to be updated before it can sell, but buyers should be able to see the value at the price you're asking. If you decide repairs are needed, that doesn't mean you need to fix everything buyers mention. The question is whether there are reasonable changes you can make that could improve the way buyers respond to the home, and whether those changes make sense financially. Or the better solution may simply be making sure the price appropriately reflects the home's condition. If your review identified weaknesses in the marketing, relisting can also give you an opportunity to improve how the home is presented and promoted. That could mean better photography, adding video, improving the online presentation, expanding the digital marketing, or creating more opportunities for buyers to discover and experience the property. The important thing is that if the marketing wasn't working the first time, simply putting the same listing back on the market with the same strategy may produce the same result. There are also situations where waiting may make sense. Maybe you want time to make repairs or improvements before putting the home back on the market. Maybe conditions in your local market aren't working in your favor right now. Or maybe your own circumstances have changed, and selling immediately is no longer as important as it was when you first listed. Waiting isn't automatically the right decision, but neither is relisting immediately. It should be part of the same evaluation as everything else. And then there's the question many homeowners ask after a listing doesn't sell. Should you change agents? Maybe, but I wouldn't make that decision simply because the home didn't sell. Look at the same information we've been reviewing throughout this video. Did your agent communicate with you and keep you informed about what was happening? Did they give you sound advice about pricing and adjust that advice as the market changed? Did they have a comprehensive marketing strategy and actually follow through with it? Did they share showing activity and buyer feedback with you and help you understand what that information was telling you? And when something wasn't working, did they recognize it and recommend changes? If the answer to those questions is yes, changing agents simply because the home didn't sell may not solve anything. But even if there wasn't one obvious problem with your previous agent, there can still be value in getting a different perspective. A new agent may bring different ideas, a different marketing approach, or simply give the listing a semi-fresh start. And if your review does identify significant problems with the communication, marketing, pricing advice, follow-up, or overall strategy, then talking with other agents before you relist makes even more sense. The decision shouldn't be about blaming the previous agent. It should be about deciding who you believe gives you the best opportunity for a successful sale moving forward. The important thing is that you're no longer guessing. You've looked at the clues, you understand what happened, and now you can decide whether the best next step is to change the price, improve the presentation or marketing, wait, work with a different agent, or simply give the home more time. Whatever you decide, it should be based on what you learned from the first time your home was on the market, so you can give yourself a better chance for success the next time around. And if you're in the greater Sacramento area and your listing has expired or you've ended your previous listing agreement, contact me to schedule a complimentary expired listing audit. I'm Stephen Weise with eXp Realty. We'll review your showing activity, buyer feedback, pricing strategy, marketing, and current competition to help determine why your home didn't sell and what your best options are moving forward. There's no obligation. The goal is to give you the information you need to make an informed decision about what to do next. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out some of my other videos for more information about buying and selling a home.